Hey, I wanted to talk to you about the realities of having sheep and goats, and someone's nosy. Because I've talked a lot on my Instagram, if you're not following, check out the link below, about all the wonderful benefits of having sheep and goats and things like that. And definitely sheep are one of the best decisions I ever made. Um, Goats were a lot harder, hence why I don't have them anymore. Goats are always trying to break out and will find a way. They're very intelligent. Sheep are a little bit the opposite way. They can be a bit stupid and can often be trying to kill themselves, drowning themselves in rivers and ponds and things like that. So you have to factor in both sides of the equation. But I have talked about a lot of the benefits, and there's all the wonderful way that they restore the soil, and that's their little characters. They're not all meant to be in here, just mum and baby. There's there's all their poo, there's their wool, there's their milk, there's the meat that they give as well. So there are so many benefits, and they're such wonderful animals to have. But there's something else that you should also consider is, like, when things go wrong, what are you going to do? Are you set up for it? It can easily seem like, oh, they just bounce around in a field grazing and then produce babies and milk and stuff occasionally, but there is obviously more to it than that, and this applies to both goats and sheep. When the weather is not good, it's good for them to have a shelter, but when the weather is sunny, they need shade as well. They need water, despite what a lot of people will tell you online, that they get enough from what they're grazing. They do actually drink quite a lot. Even now, even though it's not hot here in Portugal yet, they're drinking quite a lot. And then, what are you going to do when they have babies? They need an inside space like this for a few weeks, especially at night anyway, because the foxes will take the babies. And, are you set up for if things go wrong with the birth? And what I mean by that is, she's always so nosy, this one. What are you talking to? Is it food? Because they often do, particularly first-time mums. I had I had a first-time mum goat, and that went really quite horrendously wrong. As much as it could, she ended up having 2 babies, even though she was a first-time mum, and they got stuck. They were both trying to come out at the same time, so I had to actually put my hand inside, push one baby back and pull the other one forward, because it was basically killing the mum. And one of the babies was already dead, and the other one survived, but mum wasn't giving it enough milk. I think she was too distressed and had an infection and in pain and stuff herself, and trauma probably. So I had to feed it, and I was very naive back then, and I didn't really understand that you could overfeed as well as underfeed, and unfortunately the baby didn't make it, which was also very distressing for mum. So this baby that was born 3 days ago, it's looking a bit pathetic, but it's because it's just had a feed and it's now having a sleep. But it has been very weak. It had trouble feeding to start with. I had to feed it straight from mum's udder into its mouth to get the colostrum in there, and then it perked up a bit. I think it just got very cold. It was warm very early in the morning, and mum and baby had no idea what was going on, I think. They looked very confused when I found them. So yeah, she had trouble feeding, and then that got a bit better. She started to feed, But unfortunately on the second night, Mum got a bucket stuck on her head in here, must have freaked out, broke out of the stable and left baby cold and unfed. So again, she was too weak to feed herself. So I have been coming over and feeding her straight from Mum's udder into her mouth, so that she can survive basically. And she is now starting to follow Mum around properly. You know, she was even running outside in the sun earlier. It's a bit too sunny for them now, that's why they've come in here. And she's running alongside Mum now, but she's still having trouble kind of getting enough milk. I think you can see her belly's not is very small, and that's how you can tell, not from the bones on their back, but how, like, if they've got a bit of a belly on them. So I'm just helping occasionally. I'm watching a lot, I'm here a lot, just seeing if she is feeding and if she is moving around enough and things like that. And I think she's going to be alright. She's just, you know, it's just a challenge the first few days until they get a bit stronger. So yeah, the reason I wanted to share this video is because, you know, are you set up for what happens when things don't go to plan with your sheep and your goats, or the idea of having sheep and goats? You know, do you have powdered milk for it's a special milk that you can get from agricultural shops? Do you have some of that if Mum doesn't produce milk, or doesn't produce enough, or won't let the baby feed, or won't bond, or, you know, those sorts of things? It's actually really handy to have around. That's what I had to feed the goat a few years ago. Do you have a bottle with a nipple on it so that you can feed either the powdered milk or Mum's milk to the baby if you can't milk straight into the baby's mouth? Do you know how to milk? Because it's not as simple as it looks. It is once you get the hang of it, but actually getting the hang of it can distress Mum and cause problems and stuff like that. So do you know how to do that? Maybe watch some YouTube videos or something. And yeah, do you know what to do when they get parasites, when they are not looking well, if when to get them sheared, these sorts of things. So, you know, I rely heavily with all of the animals and humans on homeopathic remedies. I don't use anything medical. So, you know, I'm using things like Cinna, or actually a combination of homeopathic worming remedies for when any of the animals actually, if I suspect any of the animals have got parasites, that's what I'm using. I've in the process at the moment of planting medicinal pasture as well, a medicinal meadow I'm calling it, which I will lead the sheep and chickens occasionally through between pastures that is going to be full of high protein foods for them, but foods that are also anti-parasite and high in minerals and things like that, so that especially in the hot time here there is some additional support for them, and they will pick and choose what they need. Animals are very clever like that. If they've got access to something, they will pick and choose when they need it. You don't need to force it into them. So yeah, it's just, you know, a consideration of, yes, there are all the lovely sides of it, you know, where they are bounding around in fields and having a great old time and grazing what you need them to graze and stuff like that. But there is also the other side of it, which I thought was really important to talk about, and as particularly if you're taking on larger animals like this, you know, do you have the right grazing? A lot of people are like, yeah, I've got loads of grass, but is it just grass, or do you have legumes, clover, that kind of thing in it as well, because that's where they get all their protein from. So that's another thing I'm doing since moving onto this land, is replanting the fields one by one with really high protein seed, so that for this year and years to come there will be really good quality grazing for them, which means less buying of anything outside for them to, any bags of food and things like that, but also keeps them healthy, and also you can have more animals on a smaller patch of land if you've got more quality feed to give them as well. And also, I'm going to talk about it in some separate videos about the proper the rotational grazing that I am doing, and that's really helpful for their health to reduce parasites and things like that, but also for the health of the soil too. So yeah, if you have any sheepy questions, feel free to ask. I'm really happy to answer anything about them, and yeah, I'm sure this one's going to be okay. It's just never nice when they're struggling in some way. Ciao for now.